I'm going to do a review and demonstration of these two 1/4-inch square drive torque wrenches. They are Tektons. The foreground is model number 24320, and in the background the small one is the Tekton TRQ-21101. The large torque wrench is a 24-tooth ratchet. The small one is a 72-tooth ratchet. The interesting thing with the smallest torque wrench is that it is dual directional. It will measure in both the clockwise and counterclockwise directions. I did check with Tekton, and they said that this is the only torque wrench in their lineup currently that does this. Now the large torque wrench, the number 24320, has a capacity from 20 to 200 inch-pounds in 1-pound increments, whereas the small model, the TRQ-21101, has a range of 10 to 150 inch-pounds, also in 1 inch-pound increments. The accuracies, as stated by Tekton on the large torque wrench, is plus or minus 4%, and on the small torque wrench it is given as plus or minus 4% in the clockwise direction, plus or minus 6% in the counterclockwise direction. This just shows the parts breakdown, how the unit is made for the large torque wrench. Now, these have no user serviceable parts, but this just shows how it's made, and I thought I would give that. And likewise, this is the smallest torque wrench. In the foreground is the small little case that comes with the small torque wrench, and in the back is the one that comes with the large torque wrench. The small one is made somewhat out of some cloth material, and it's put it in here. It's zippered. Actually, it's fairly nice. The large case is made out of some type of plastic. The closures are just attached by plastic. There is no actual hinge. It's the kind of continuous here with the plastic itself. With the tool, you do get this little tag that's attached to the square drive end. Thought I'd go over it real quick. Obviously, it is a precision tool. Okay, you never want to use one to break loose fasteners. I always use a separate wrench for that. These are strictly to just torque down to spec a bolt or nut. Then it says, wrench is. It says to try the wrench on a non-critical fastener first to learn how it works. Well, I do something every time, and I'll show you what I do every time when I use a torque wrench, because I don't use them that often, and I have a little process I use to kind of get it, I don't know what the word would be, exercised or whatnot. And another real important thing is operate slowly. Wrench clicks to notify the user when torque value is reached. Wrench does not stop applying force automatically. So they'll either make like a clicking sound, or they'll break free. They'll kind of break away. But if you're going fast, to me there's no reason to go fast when you're torquing something. I like to go slow and deliberate. And again, listen and feel. At low torque settings, click is subtle. Learn to hear and feel the click. And store at the lowest setting. When you're done, I always, or if there's going to be a long period in between, I always go to the lowest torque value on the particular torque wrench. And this says measures in one direction. Wrench only measures torque in right hand clockwise direction, which is true except for this, as I stated earlier, the smallest one will do clockwise or counterclockwise. And again, if you're going to do a left-handed fastener with the small one that does go in the counterclockwise direction, if you've got to break it free for some reason, again, going in the clockwise direction, just use a separate wrench. Always use a torque wrench for tightening only. They're not breaker bars. Now, I stated that I have a little process that I use prior to actually torquing the bolt or nut that needs it. What I'll do, and depending on the torque wrench and the size of the ultimate bolt or nut that I'm going to be using, I have these grade 8 bolts here that what I'll do is, like in this case with the 1/4 inch, when I do the demonstration, if I was going to use this on an engine or anything that had to be torqued, what I would do is I would put this in a vise. I'd put the head of the bolt in a vise, and I'd make sure that it was down just low enough so that it wasn't hitting the washer. It would be raised up enough so that it would have free range. The washer would not be hitting the vise jaw. I'd clamp it down in the vise, then I would take and start at the lowest setting of the torque wrench and just torque it a few times at that. Then I'd up it, depending on what the range is. I'd up it, and then do it some more, going through the range and going a little bit past the torque that I need, doing that several times in each one, just to make sure that the unit is, I don't know what the word is, I'll say exercise it, but just because, like I said, if it's been sitting a while and I don't use them that often, that's just something I do, and it's always worked out okay for me. And that way you can ensure yourself that it is working properly, that you're going to feel the breakaway or hear the click, and that's just what I do. Okay, before I do a demonstration, let's take a look at the operation of each one of these. Now, the small Tekton uses a pushback collar in which to adjust the handle. Now, I like it, but it's kind of a pain also, because to set this, you've got to pull back and hold it. So there's only a limited range in which you're going to be able to do that, which you got to release it and keep doing it. Okay, or just pull back and rotate the whole unit, as I'm doing here, until you get to close to the desired setting, and then tweaking it by turning it. Here you see it's set at the lowest setting. The scale is extremely easy to read. This is the inch-pound side. I didn't mention the Newton meter side or the spec on that earlier. I don't know. I neglected to do that, but I don't know. I just never use that myself. And again, here's that collar that you pull back on. And so let's say you were going to set this at, say, 32 inch-pounds. Okay. There's 30. Then just go to the 2, and that would be your 32 inch-pounds. Now, the larger torque wrench of the two is different. the way it locks and unlocks for the setting. Use the knob down here to loosen it. Now the handle is free to turn as much as you want, stopping wherever you want. And when you get to the point, the torque setting that you want, lock that down, and it locks the handle in place. And on the larger one, here you see the scale. It's set to the low setting right now, 20. Also has the Newton meters on the opposite side. And again, as with the other wrench, the scale is well engraved, easy to read. No issues there. Now, the only other thing I'd like to point out is that the small one does have a quick release head, which I really like. And the large one doesn't. Okay guys, we're going to do a demonstration of the torque wrenches, and here you see in the vise the 1/4 grade 8 bolt and nut that I'm going to use for the test. And then, as I mentioned, every time that I torque it to remove it, then I'm going to use a regular wrench, a ratchet and socket. I will not use the torque wrench to break it free. I'm going to start the test out with the smallest Tekton, the TRQ-21101, and I'm going to start out at the 10 inch-pound setting, the lowest setting. Right there, it broke free. We'll do that again. Right there. Just a little bit of spring. It was extremely easy to feel. But that's at 10 inch-pounds. Right there. Next up, 30 inch-pounds. You may have heard that. I don't know if it on the camera, if you could hear that, but you could easily see it break away. Right there. Do it one more time at 30 again. Next up is 60 inch-pound. And that is extremely easy to detect. So again, if you just go slow, I had seen on some reviews, whether it was Amazon or whatnot, I did see some reviews where they said that one of these 1/4 inch was hard to detect. So far I haven't had that issue at all. 100 inch-pound. As the torque setting increases, it's actually easier to feel. It was extremely easy at the lowest setting. We'll do 100 again. Slow and steady. Okay guys, 150 inch-pounds. So as I said earlier, when I'm going to use the torque wrench for the first time, I would go through this kind of a process just to get the torque wrench moving, I guess exercised, for the lack of a better term. This is what I would do before I actually went to the bolt or nut in question that I was going to torque. Next up, we're going to do the Tekton 24320, which was the larger of the two that I'm demonstrating and reviewing today. And we're going to start out at 20 inch-pounds. Now right there, almost instantaneous, because it's got a longer leverage arm. The feel, you got to go real slow. Let's do that again. That's why you want to be slow and deliberate, so that you can feel it. Can't be in a hurry. You'll go right past where the torque setting should be. Right there. "50 inch-pounds. "95 inch-pounds. Okay, let's go all the way to 200 inch-pounds.